Hey, it's Jen Hart with Jen Hart Be Awesome. I don't know why I say hey. If you could give me a new opening line, let me know. Thanks. Okay, today is day 24. Ooh. I hope you're all are doing wonderful and we're coming up to... Wait, today is the 24th, yes? Yes, okay. Had to double check the day. Sometimes days just blur into each other. Do you notice that? Anyway, day 24 of my 15-minute method to change your life. So today's topic is about something that I got inspired by that sex check Alexa Martinez. She's amazing. I took a course from her a billion years ago, it feels like, but it probably was like 2017. It was about love and relationships and stuff like that. So she has an amazing podcast with one of her head coaches, Bryn, and they talk about edges, and not just sexual edges, but mostly emotional edges. And, you know, I think all of us in general have edges. This is why I talk about limiting beliefs. It's because we tend to keep ourselves unbeknownst to us until we're unhappy. So we usually notice our edges at different times. Sometimes we'll notice our edges when we're anxious. We'll notice our edges meaning where your personal comfort lies, as well as where you're asked to grow. Now, if you're spiritual, you can say God's asking you to grow. For me, it's just, there's not like a person telling you to grow. But it's up to you of however you want to call it. It's like, but as a human, an evolving human, a person that is growing and changing and living life, hopefully you're not the same person you were at 7 or 14 or 24, 34, and I'm soon to be 44, and I'm celebrating my birthday soon, this coming weekend. So it reminds me what to ask you guys, or what to talk about for these topics this month, is that so the 15-minute method today, you're going to use your 15 minutes if you so desire. I implore, inspire, what is another word for invite. I invite you to explore the places in yourself, like anxiety, would be one place where you can ask, is that an edge, or is that just a place where I'm not willing to go step to the next step? Because I notice this with clients, especially with anxiety disorders that are socially based, is that sometimes it's lack of awareness of, like, I don't know where to find that information. But even in basic terms, sometimes some of my clients with trauma had a hard time because wherever they're at in trauma, so it doesn't always feel safe to trust yourself, even if it's just looking on Google, it's totally safe to look on Google. Google's not going to hurt you or bite you. You're not going to be, nothing's going to bad happen to you if you look on Google and type in the words, expand my edge, or, I mean, that's a little more advanced, more so like, how do I take the next step out of fear, or in this situation, if it's a relationship situation, or a work relationship, or a work dynamic, you might not even have the words. I've had clients, because of their diagnoses, they don't have that, what would be considered common sense. And, but even if you're not that, like, unaware of what questions to ask, you can ask the simple question as, okay, if something feels uncomfortable to me in your 15-minute practice today, it's like, where in my life do I feel uncomfortable? And that I would like growth, but I'm scared. Or I would like changes, but I don't know how yet. Or something is, it might not even be that awareness yet. You might feel like, I'm uncomfortable in this conversation, or this type of conversation, because I have a lot of people that are afraid of conflict, which I used to be there. I used to be there because I was afraid of whatever that a consequence that I didn't like. Like, if I had a confrontation with somebody and I didn't feel like, oh, they would abandon me, or they wouldn't, or would they bully me, or whatever the things were at the time. But now I'm so strong in my person self. That sounds weird, but that's the truth, is that it's a little bit easier with people on the internet because you really don't know them. It's a little bit harder, or more, I wouldn't say hard for me, but like, it can be uncomfortable with people that you love and care about, and you don't know what that will look like in that conversation, but you're still completely safe. Like, I mean, is somebody going to yell at you and scream at you? And I mean, of course, there are things like that. And if you're not in a safe relationship and it's like emotionally toxic, or if you are in a relationship where you're physically scared for your life, I wouldn't suggest kind of this process of like poking a bear. Don't poke a bear. But if you're just like in a normal, like, can I have a conversation with my friend? Or like, can I have a conversation with my partner? Of course you can. So those might be edges, because if you're talking about topics that you want growth in. So in terms of edges, you're finding those edges by looking at where you're unhappy, where you're dissatisfied, where you would like changes, where in your life, it could be money, it could be your sex life, it could be your work life, it could be just how you feel about yourself or your daily routine. Any of these edges are just places where you get to choose to move forward in a baby step if you decide to. You're not beholden to anybody. This is just an exercise to kind of give you an awareness piece around pushing your limits, so to speak, even though they're not really limits. There's nothing really limited in this world, and emotionally, unless you allow that to be so. And it takes practice to kind of push around the edge, push in the edge, and know that you're not going to die. Like, you're literally not going to die from having a conversation with somebody. You're literally not going to die if you go around the block naked. Like, I mean, you might get a few looks or you might get a citation or a ticket, but depending on where you are in the world. But for the most part, there aren't as big of consequences as the reasons why we stay stuck. And sometimes it's like long-term fear that we've had. Like, if you don't date, minus Corona, and even in then, people have dated in Corona and they're fine. So it's not these things that we make up as bigger, and it's not that it's not serious. It's just, the whole idea of what I do is to help you not hold yourself back because of that fear, because of the anxiety, because you're scared or sad or upset. Like, you can be sad and scared and upset and keep moving forward. And if you need a rest, you rest. And if you need a bath, you need a bath. If you need to scream or like write out all your feelings, you take a burn book and you burn all that shit. And then you set forth an intention of, I want to grow in this area. Like, if you are in a partnership and your partnership in the romance department is slow or is gotten stale and you want that to thrive again, there are plenty of coaches, including Alexa and people that she trains, as well as just in general. Like, even you can go to a coach like me, or even a therapist. I have a friend that's a sex therapist. Like, there are plenty of ways to move the needle towards what you desire. But you first have to know what that is. And sometimes it's usually like, when you ask the question, I know what I don't want. So now I know what I do want. So if I want more of this, I want more money, or I want more satisfaction in my job, or I want to feel safe and secure in a relationship, I want this in my sex life, or I want all that combined. I want a healthy relationship, I want a healthy blah, blah, blah. That's the opposite. It usually tells us where our edges are. And sometimes it's just basic, like, maybe it's because you're not aware that you want something until you get an edge pushed and you're like, I like that edge, can we keep going? And if you have safe people in your life, then that is totally, especially in romantic partnerships or even in friendships. Like, if a friend says, let's go bungee jumping, and it's something you really want to do, not my choice, but I'm giving you an example. if something you really want to do, you're going to find friends that are not going to hold you back from jumping safely on a bungee. You just won't. You might find friends that would say, "Don't do that. It's unsafe." There are plenty of practical ways to keep yourself safe in every scenario that you desire, but it's up to you. It's your personal responsibility. That's why I was tagging, if I can tag. I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. Or at least I'll comment in my comments to listen to Alexa's podcast, That Sex Chick. Because even it doesn't have to do with sex, all these limits. I mean, they can. But it's usually wherever you are. I don't know. Where are you? I don't know. I'm just holding my thing. Anyway, where you would like to grow. I mean, do you want to stay stuck? I've been in places in my relationships, friendships, obviously family, that's a whole other ballgame when my mom was alive. And then we had non-stagnant things. And then also romantic relationships. It was my responsibility that I wasn't growing. It wasn't the other person's responsibility. Although collectively, if you're in a good partnership, good friendships, you're always growing as a person. You're always growing intellectually, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually. I mean, depending on the relationship. You know what I mean? You're not staying. Who wants to be 24 again if you're 44? I mean, minus having the body I had at 24. And even then, I could get to that point, although I'm not that dedicated. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to have the same mentality I had at 24 because it was where I was at. There was nothing wrong with it when I was there. I mean, there could have been things that I could have done to grow, but I was there. I've accepted it. I've loved myself through it. All the experiences, good, bad, and ugly, and I've grown, and I've learned and taken the lessons. So I'm not anti that age, but I don't want to be there. I always want to continue to grow and learn. And I hope if you're going on this journey just for self-happiness and fulfillment, it's like you're continuing to grow, because it doesn't have to be growth. Like, I mean, it feels that way once you're like 10 years ago or even 7 years ago. I'm not that same person. Parts of me are the same, but I'm always growing. And that's the point of being alive. The point is not to watch Netflix for 40 years or do the same thing 40 years. That's not the point of life. The point of life is to grow, evolve, and change in hopefully miraculous ways where you feel like you've done enough to love yourself and to love others. And that's really, and all the other stuff in the middle, like making money and having nice things or having a safe place, just a safe place emotionally with people, connecting with people, like that's the gold. Like that's the stuff. All right. Happy May. Oh my God. It's not May 24th. It is March 24th. Somebody's saying something. I don't know who they're saying, but anyway. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.